This is Nathan Cruz, and in this video I'm going to highlight some of the new point cloud loading, display, and editing features that we have in the new Carlson Precision 3D Topo 2018 product. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load a P3D file from the demo data that's available either on the USB drives that we provide, or also on the product download site for the 2018 demo data. So I'm just going to open this scene file. And basically, it's just a convenience because I've already set the projection to Kentucky single zone for this particular project. And what I'm going to do is load. So I'm going to do only classified. I'm going to merge after. Let's see, and we're going to go and pick the Kentucky LiDAR. So what I'm going to do is show you loading 30 of these all at the same time. And in this case, I believe I have to specify, I don't need to apply a projection because these LiDAR files are actually in the same projection that I'm in here, Kentucky single zone in US survey feed. It's the way the state had it collected. And I'm also going to bring up my task manager, and I'm just going to hit load as US survey feed. And what you're going to see right away is that even on the 6-core machine with hyperthreading, so I have 12 threads, and what I'm doing is I'm loading 30 LiDAR files at a time. But while we're doing that, we're spooling up each load is spooled up in a separate CPU thread, so we can load 12 at a time. But we're also looking at the amount of available memory that you have. And so if we look at we read the header and we see the file is going to be larger to load simultaneously than you have available memory at that point, we'll push it back in the queue and we'll wait until more memory is available to do that. So this whole loading process really takes advantage of every bit of CPU horsepower that you have, and certainly all the available memory that you have, and it won't run you out of memory. So we have a 20% buffer in there on the available memory that's running during the process, which is going to go up and down as we load. Okay, so I've loaded all of these files. Just takes a few seconds. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge them together just by doing the right mouse button, select with a crossing. About 77,000 or 77 million points. So that's quite a few for sure. And even during that process, so even though I did the merge afterwards, I could have just told it to do it during the load, and it would have taken, I don't know, maybe 2.5 minutes to do the load and the automated merge, all in one step. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to import a polyline, again from our demo data, Kentucky LiDAR. It's called boundary.dxf. And it again is also in US survey feet, and it usually comes in right underneath the cloud. You can see the black polyline there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select the cloud, and then I'm going to hit crop by polyline, and I'm going to just do a window with the right mouse button pressed and a crossing selection. See, I've selected my polyline. You can also just pick it in the scene. And I'm just going to hit crop points. So it's going to go through all 77 million points and 17,000 acres, and it's going to reduce it down to something considerably less, I would imagine. So we're down to just under 9,000 acres and still 11 million points. But as far as being able to aggregate and bring together a whole bunch of state LiDAR data, merge them together, crop out your area of interest, then one of our new things that we can do is we can save any cloud in the P3D scene as an individual file. So in this case, we support LAS versions 1.4, which is the newest one, which supports projections. So if you're loading LAS files that are older versions, they don't have the projection built in, what you can do is bring it into P3D and then set your projection, and then we'll actually burn it in there for you if you pick this version 1.4. Some software doesn't support the latest version of these files, so we have the option to save back to the 1.3 and the 1.2 as well, which does not support the projection information, but you still have that that basic option. So here, we can have road project, and I can save it as an LAS or an LAZ file. And then I just click on the save point cloud. So what this is going to do is actually save this particular set of point clouds that started with 30 tiles as a single point cloud. And it's going to be in a version that other a lot of other software will support, so which makes it a lot more reusable. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, so that's the loading part. Next thing I'm going to do is show you our new point cloud isolator. So I'm going to go into our Michigan Quarry sample, which is set to Michigan South, and I'm going to do an import of another point cloud. So I'm going to browse up to my demo data into the aerial drone survey, select Michigan Quarry color, and that doesn't really apply. The projection in this case is not set in this particular file, although a lot of the newer ones that you get from Carlson Photo Capture or from our partner PixElement, they have all the appropriate projections built into them now. But I happen to know that it was collected in NAD83 Michigan South meters, so and I want to bring it into U.S. survey feet. So I'm just going to go ahead and load this cloud with no thinning, so we'll have 15.5 million points. And again, you can start to see it popping in. One of the things that we used to do, just to verify that you were in the right location, so you can see we're tracking the lat long in our tooltip area over here on to the right. The other thing that we can now do pretty quickly is just download the Google Map backdrop with 2 button clicks basically. And now I can turn this quarry off and see that I am indeed in the right place. So that's kind of a handy feature. Just gives your data a little bit more context. Now I'm going to show you one of our newer point editing features. And we call this the point isolator. So you'll see this isolate points command. So when you select the point cloud, under the object command, you're going to see isolate points, or if you right click on it, you're going to see isolate points. And so that command is going to start up, and we have a few buttons here, and so the thing is that you want to rotate so that you can really see a clean delineation of what you're trying to get rid of. And in this case, I'm just trying to quickly get rid of this conveyor belt over here. Now, we do have our crop by polyline, so we could do it, in just X, Y, Z and draw a polyline. We could also do bare earth and remove it that way. But this new tool is pretty slick, and it's extremely handy for doing fine tuning and cleanup. in your scene. So what I'm going to do is just draw a rubber band polyline around there. Now I can't pan or zoom right now because we're going to take a selection set based on your current viewpoint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click keep enclosed in selection. So basically all the points inside the polyline are going to be added to a selection set. But that's all of the points that are sort of projected all the way through the surface as well. And so we also have a coloration method. So that selection set is going to be colorized by elevation. I can also say highlighted, which basically just adds this really yellowy tint to it. And so you can see over here that we definitely picked up our conveyor area, but we also picked up these additional points out here that we want to keep. And so basically all I have to do is just draw a really coarse rubber band outline out here, just a few clicks, and just remove that area from the selection set. And then basically I just hit delete selection set, and you can see that the conveyor belt is gone, and we didn't actually even interfere with any of the points underneath. And we didn't have to do the bare earth either. So this is an example of doing some cleanup. And now if you want to do your pit or pile volumes, which I show in another video in the same series, now you're good to go, and you don't have to worry about any interference going on here with that stuff. So now I'm going to open another file. This is Maysville. So again, it already has the projection set. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load a point cloud, and I'm going to go into Maysville, and I'm going to pick the Maysville.las. No thinning or anything like that. It has the projection burned in, so this is processed with Carlson photo capture. And so basically all you have to do is just say use projection in file, and we'll automatically handle that for you. And then I'm just going to hit load. So to go ahead and load that file for me. And again, I'm going to load the Google map as well, just with the two mouse clicks. So as long as you have that set, what we're going to do is take a look at your scene, and we're going to figure out the extents of the scene, and then we do an automated query back to Google, so you can see how well the point cloud actually matches up to the imagery as far as being lined up. So our point isolator is really pretty a good cleanup tool, but another neat feature of our point isolator is the ability to essentially extract other point clouds. So essentially, if I want to get rid of this riverboat out of my scene, so I'm just going to kind of carefully trace around what I don't need. And I'm just going to hit keep enclosed in selection, so it's going to add those points to the selection set. And then again, I can rotate around and make sure that only those points are in the current selection set. So if I keep only selected points, essentially what happens is that's crop. So basically only these points will be left in the scene, and all the other point cloud points will be gone. If I just hit delete selected points, it'll just delete this and it'll be gone. But so it's essentially the same as crop and delete points on the inside. But now we have a new one, which is create new cloud from selection, which it just did, and it puts it in the default colorization mode. And now I can come in here and I can rename it to Riverboat. And I could change its coloration back to there, or I can just turn it off in the scene. So now that I have the riverboat, I can just do a save. I could do a save on this and just save the riverboat as a separate file, which can be kind of handy. The other places where this point isolator is really good at cleaning up is if you do have a lot of a lot of really large roof areas. So what I'm going to do is come across in here and just tell it to keep the selection. And again, if I press Control Z, if I don't like that point, I can come back and undo, and I can undo, and I can say, well, I really want to go around this down here, down to here. So as you pick points, you can undo and fix it up on the fly. And I just hit keep enclosed in selection, and then I can come over here, and again, because we colorize everything it's very easy to see that I've got some extra stuff out here, and I happen to know that that's a pillar, so I do not want to take it out in such a coarse way. So I'm just going to tell it to keep those around. So I'm going to remove it from my selection set because I'm going to go and delete these other points. And so basically now I'm just going to hit delete points. So as far as a nice edge cleanup tool is concerned, because there's a lot of conditions where you'll have cases like this where you'll have a whole bunch of vegetation that's hanging out over nothing because there was water. In this case, it's the edge of a river. So what I can do is I can come in here and I can get rid of those in a much finer tuned way. Let's see, so I'm going to close that and I'm going to start the command again. And basically I'm just going to now I could just use the XY on this as well, but where it comes in really handy is when you get into areas like this where you have these these points kind of floating up above here. I don't know if it was noise or if it was a railing or something, but that's if you're trying to make a surface out of this, it's going to look terrible. So what you can do is again come in with the point isolator and come in, and I'm just going to basically just trace right around the edge of this thing. So I'm going to pick out all the way out, move my dialog just a little bit. I may as well clean up that stuff too. I would say keep enclosed in selection. I can rotate around and see that they are indeed what I want to get rid of, and I'm just going to hit delete. And so it's a really easy way to come in and clean this stuff up. And also, there's a lot of times where you'll end up with data with points that are just underneath of the point cloud, which gives a lot of the bare earth algorithms a lot of grief and so forth. And so we could certainly use the same crop tool underneath of this surface as well to really clean that up. So here I'm just going to quickly get rid of these stragglers that are down below and clean that up. So again, the point isolator is a really powerful tool. And it could be used for extracting particular areas if you want to save them to a different point cloud for whatever reason. So this flood wall is actually kind of interesting. And so one of the things that you can do is you could save this to one or more point clouds individually. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to start the point isolator. And I'm going to just maintain right around this flood wall area. come across on the other side. And I'm going to say keep enclosed selection. And I'm going to create a new cloud from the selection. So you saw the color change. And basically, I can just work my way down here. With the point isolator, you cannot change your viewpoint once you start the command, which is why I'm creating multiple files here. But I'm just going to overlap. I'll just overlap this guy a little bit, come straight down here, because it's really easy just to load them all back up together. And I'm going to say keep them closed, create a new cloud. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off the Maysville cloud, right? And so now I have these other two pieces of the wall that were left. So what I'm going to do is just highlight both of those, and I'm just going to say merge. And now I can do a save, and I can save this as the Maysville wall. And hit the save point cloud button. So that just saved that point cloud. And again, I used the 1.4 version. I could also rename this guy in the scene as well. So if I want to call that river wall or flood wall, like I did with the riverboat. So with this new point isolator tool, it's really easy to crop and delete from any angle or perspective. It's easy to see what's in the selection set. Then you can remove things that you don't want to have to be in there. Then you can either crop to that set, or you can delete what's inside of the set, or you can make a new point cloud from that set. So it gives you a lot of really powerful options. So this one tool is extremely handy in being able to do all that fine-tuned cleanup. And other improvements that we've made include, I'm going to load another set of Maysville files here. So there's my preview, and I'm just going to tell it to load only classified and remove the outliers, because I happen to know there's outliers. So again, it's loading each one in a separate thread simultaneously. And then it's going to apply the outlier filter to each one of those. Now, I didn't have it merge automatically, but I'm just showing you this is state-provided LiDAR data that we have, and just to show you sort of how it overlays with the point cloud information. So if I turn the overlay off, you can actually see that these points are really right on top of each other. I can go one step further, and I can do field to finish on a survey file, a Carlson CRD in this case. And I'm going to delete the surface that it created because we don't need that yet. But what I'm going to do now is just come in here, and we're going to look at some of the points and polylines and see how well they line up. So here's a polyline that was brought in, and I don't know what the description on it was, but if I highlight here, it'll show me in the Scene Explorer. So it's a wall, and you can tell it's right on the wall. You can also see all of these points that are in the scene, and they're just right on. They're very just coincident. So and this was collected with an RTK GPS rover. And again, you can see the railroad points and polylines. Just how accurate that is. So basically, what you're seeing is very accurate survey data overlaid with very accurate photogrammetric point cloud generated from drone photos, and you're also seeing state-provided LiDAR data simultaneously, and all in the context of nice Google Maps. And there we have our Google Maps. We can see the context of all this data, that all of this data was taken into. And once you do, again, once you bring in your overlay, you can change the elevation of it, so you can bring it up. You can bring it up and change or push it down, because this is really just for background information at that point. But that highlights some of our new point cloud loading, so we can load up to 50 files simultaneously while maximizing every bit of compute horsepower that your machine has, the number of cores you have and the amount of RAM that you have. So if you have 12 cores but you only have 16 gigs of memory, that's probably you're gonna be memory bound. So you might want to go to 32 or 64 megs if you're going to work with lots and lots of large point cloud data. But again, we optimize for that load, so basically saves you a lot of steps, because we can apply the outlier filter and also merge all the clouds, and thin them all in the same load command. So basically we're doing a whole bunch of utility functions during the load process. And then we have our new point isolator, which is very handy for creating for isolating individual areas and either deleting them or removing everything outside of them, or saving that selection set as a different point cloud, create a point cloud. And then also our ability to save any point cloud to an LAS or LAZ file from version 1.4 all the way back to 1.2. And that does it for what's new with point cloud loading and editing in Precision 3D Topo 2018.